Good morning, Professor, and good morning, my classmates. I'm Guy, and today I'm going to present Chapter 2, page 53 to page 58, Language and Language Acquisition. So the first topic that I'm going to talk about is the role of background knowledge in academic language use. Why the background knowledge is very important? Because when we develop the background knowledge gradually, that over time is an educational purpose to prepare students to have the further education. So it's very important to language use. This is that can make the student be able to read, write, speak, and listen properly. Because in language use is not just to communicate, but we concern the qualities of communication as a function, discourse, or social linguistic. So therefore, to have higher education can make students use more correctly in academic language use, and teacher has to have a clear teaching to help students in this usage of language. Next, how does language relate to power, social standing, and identity? Actually, when people communicate to each other, it's not just exchange the words or exchange the text, but the words that we contact, we transfer to people who talking to or who communicate to. It take different meanings based on social and power relationships between the speakers. And it is also related to social, cultural, politics, and historical context in which conversation takes place. Next, the language and as an instrument and symbol of power. The language is not freezing, is not stopped, but languages breathe, grow, change, and die according to the fluctuation of lives of their speakers, such as Latin of ancient Roman is no longer spoken, but the Rome's power in 2000 years ago, as the Roman Empire spread to the parts of Europe, Northern America, and Central Asia. So Latin gradually became the dominant languages. So, and language families based on the linguistic similarities. Um, but some are different, called isolates. Language around the world is wide and reflects different cultures, and sometimes language can be extinct because there were less people using it. Next, I'm going to talk about language or dialect. The difference in the way of different groups that use language. Some group they use the same language, and in different groups they are using different dialects or varieties of that language. The differences in phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics have been found. For example, in English spoken by certain groups of Americans, American Indians, European Americans, and Latino Americans in the United States. And sometimes the dialect and language can be mutual understandable between the language. For example, Spanish and Portuguese are some mutual understandable, but they are being separated as a different language because of the political status. And so we can say that a language is a dialect with an army and a navy. Then how a dialect becomes the standard language. For example, of the Spanish language, spread its empire to other parts of the world in the past, and Spanish replaced several local languages and continuing to evolve. It's all about an army and a navy assumes power. So it's about the powerful of the empire that spread to other areas. And nowadays, English is considered a prestigious international language because with the imperial expansion of England, of Britain in the past, so English is spread around the world, and many people using English. And English is used in economic opportunity and success because it's widespread use in education, government, mass media, and business throughout the world. Then we're moving to how language variety affects the power and prestige of its users. So the researcher introduced three concentric circles, which consist of inner circle, outer circle, and expanding circle. For the inner circle, that means the countries that use English as primary language or native language, for example, Canada, USA, and United Kingdom. For the outer circle, that means they use English in their normal life or in formal terms in education, civil service, and in the government. For example, Ghana, India, Nigeria, Philippines, and Singapore. And the last one, expanding circle, English is taught as a second language for international communication purpose. For example, Japan, China, Russia, or in Thailand. And so the expanding the varieties of English used in all three circles have become known as world Englishes. And some researchers, they explain that the expansion of English is a positive situation that has advantage for a wider world of communication with contexts, personal, social, economic benefits. But some people said that it was a negative effect because it does have the advantages for the inner circle countries. For example, the example of Edna, she is from Philippines, and she was educated through English from elementary school in her home country, and she graduated doctoral degree in the USA, and she worked as assistant professor in USA, but she was required to submit to the test to show the lower status of her variety of English in this situation. But in the contrast, if she is in Philippine societies, her English was in a high status, opening doors to opportunity economically and professionally. So will Englishes come into a greater contact, right, to each other face to face or through the telephone, television, and to the internet. And the last one, the roles of a standard language. So the standard language are used in three different ways. So they use in the written media, for example, newspaper, magazines, books, and articles. Secondly, they use in oral broadcast media, for example, radio, television, and the last one for academic settings, for writing, academic purpose. This is offer access to broader social, economic, and political opportunities. For these reasons, so if people or students who can speak and use English properly and fluency in the standard of language is an important of the educational goal. And thank you so much. This is all for my presentation. Thank you so much and Merry Christmas.